You better take me. I'll do anything. The woman gasped, collapsing against the old doorframe just as dawn cracked over the McJarre ranch. Zeke McJarre stood there, rifle loosely held, eyeing the stranger stepping out of the morning shadows. Her dress was torn, stained with blood, her hands marked by burned scars, like prayers etched in pain. She clutched a worn leather satchel close to her chest and a crumpled paper in her other hand. The wanted poster bore her face, harsher than the broken woman now trembling on his doorstep. "Will you marry me?" Zeke asked. "Yeah, that happened." Neither of them expected those words. Magnolia Carter blinked up, sure she misheard, but Zeke's face was steady, weathered by years of prairie winds and bitter disappointment. He lowered the rifle fully, steady as a rock. "I said, will you marry me?" Magnolia struggled to her feet, never letting go of the satchel. The dry scent of dust and dying grass filled the morning air. Somewhere in the distance, cattle shuffled, restless under the growing heat. "You don't know me," she said quietly. "I know enough," Zeke replied, stepping aside to gesture her inside. "You're running from something that scares you more than a stranger's proposal. And I'm about to lose everything if I can't prove to the bank I'm a stable family man." She hesitated at the threshold. Trust wasn't something she had the luxury to give, not anymore. But here was a man offering shelter, not chains. "What did you do?" Zeke nodded toward the wanted poster. "Stole something that wasn't mine," she said, voice heavy with truth. "Or at least, that's what they say." Zeke poured water into a basin on the kitchen table, a simple gesture of hospitality with no strings attached. Magnolia set down her satchel cautiously, but close enough to grab. The kitchen was Spartan, clean, every tool and supply arranged for practical use. A man's world, functional and lonely. "The bank comes tomorrow," Zeke said, his eyes serious. "Cornelius Blackwood's been buying up every ranch around. Mine's the last one standing." Magnolia dipped her hands into the basin. The water turned pink from scratches she hadn't noticed. Her body kept score while her mind ran through possibilities. "What makes you think marriage will change anything?" she asked. "Blackwood says you're unstable. A lone man can't hold land. But a married man, that's different." Zeke shrugged. "Yeah, that's supposed to mean something. And what do I get? A name, protection, a roof. Time to figure out what comes next? Doesn't seem like much, but I'm out of options." Magnolia had grown used to lies, people wanting things she couldn't give. But his straightforward desperation felt almost real. "Then hoofbeats." Zeke stiffened, moving to the window. A sheriff's star gleamed as the rider drew closer. "Sheriff Rawlings," he muttered. Magnolia glanced between the wanted poster, the approaching lawman, and Zeke, the man offering a lifeline in a world that wanted to drown her. The satchel held secrets that could topple powerful men or get her killed. Saying yes meant no turning back. "There's no taking back what's done," Zeke said quietly, eyes locking with hers. "The question is, do we face it alone or together?" Rawlings dismounted, spurs ringing on the porch. Magnolia's decision was quick, no time for second guesses. "Yes," she said. Zeke nodded, opening the door before the sheriff could knock. "Morning, Sheriff." "Morning, Zeke." Rawlings' gaze landed on Magnolia immediately. "Heard you might have company." "My wife," Zeke said easily. Rawlings studied her, then pulled out an official wanted poster with territorial seals. "Magnolia Carter, wanted for theft and destruction of property. Harboring a fugitive's treason." Zeke interrupted calmly. "My wife's maiden name was Carter. Justice Hale married us yesterday." Rawlings folded the poster, a mix of disbelief and caution in his eyes. "Well, congratulations." The sheriff's tone implied doubt, but he made no arrest. "I'll be around," he said, tipping his hat mockingly, "to make sure everything's settled." After he left, silence filled the kitchen like smoke. Two strangers had just spun a lie that might save or damn them both. "Justice Hale," Magnolia said softly. "He'll make it legal today, if you're still willing," Zeke replied, clearing dishes he hadn't touched. She looked out over the prairie, mountains unnamed in the distance. Behind them, a life she'd fled. Ahead, consequences she couldn't predict. But here was a man who offered partnership, not ownership. "I'm willing." Later, Justice Tobias Hale's hands trembled opening the leather-bound book. His parlor smelled of old paper and nervous sweat. The ceremony was brief, formal words hanging hollow in the dusty room. "Do you?" Ezekiel McGRA. Take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. Do you, Magnolia, take this man? I do. No kiss sealed the union, just a nod, coins exchanged, and Zeke leading Magnolia outside to his wagon. The ride back was quiet, only the creak of wheels and the wind through dry grass. Magnolia memorized every landmark, every possible escape route. Habit, not hope. Tell me about the plantation, Zeke finally said. Her jaw tightened. Cornelius Blackwood owns it. Still does, by the law's eyes. After emancipation, he found new ways to keep people shackled. Debt contracts, false charges, men with guns. You left without permission. I left with proof. The satchel between them rested like a sleeping snake. Zeke glanced, but didn't ask. Some secrets need time, need trust. Blackwood's empire stretches from Louisiana to Colorado, Magnolia said. He buys land through fraud, then uses it as collateral to buy more. Your ranch sits in the middle of his railroad route. How do you know about my ranch? I kept his books for 3 years before I understood what the numbers meant. Zeke processed that. His wife was a secret weapon. Can you still keep books? Better than most. They reached the ranch as the sun dipped behind the western mountains. Magnolia sized up the property. The house needed repairs but had good bones. The barn was solid. The grazing land stretched wide. How many cattle? 137, Zeke said. But Blackwood's men have been driving them off, cutting fences, poisoning water. Magnolia nodded knowingly. They'll escalate now you're married. Why? Because marriage means you're not giving up. It means you plan to fight. Over the next days, Magnolia proved her worth. She organized scattered cattle, deciphered land law to protect property rights, and navigated the cold eyes of Coyote Creek's townsfolk, a mixture of curiosity, hostility, and cautious support. Mrs. Henderson at the general store spoke clipped words, but slipped extra flour without charge. Mr. Kowalski glared, but filled grain orders clean. The division was clear. Blackwood's supporters whispered, looked away, while those hurt by him offered quiet help. Tom Brennan, a local farmer, stopped by to borrow tools, but stayed for hours discussing water rights and grazing boundaries. He started asking Magnolia for advice. That woman knows her business, he told his wife later. Zeke married a partner, not just a wife. And something deeper was growing, silent gestures, shared burdens, trust turning into something more. One night by lamplight, Magnolia spoke, voice steady as she sewed. The plantation burned the night I left. They'll say I set the fire. I didn't. Zeke's hands paused. She continued, I didn't try to stop it either. Shared guilt hung heavy, but so did understanding. Sometimes, letting something burn is the only way to make room for new growth. Outside, storm clouds rolled over the mountains, promising rain and trouble. They're coming, Magnolia said quietly. Blackwood's men. Zeke nodded. How long? Not long. Before she could say more, hoofbeats approached, 6 men riding into the yard. Zeke McJarre, the leader called. We've got business. Magnolia's hand found Zeke's in the dark. Together, they stepped out, ready for whatever was coming. Blackwood's men left a message. Congratulations on your marriage. Hope you live long enough to enjoy it. Threat lingered like smoke. Inside, Magnolia set the satchel on the kitchen table, heavy as a coffin. Inside lay oil-wrapped documents, deeds, forged contracts, bank transfers, proof of systematic fraud stretching across 3 territories. Zeke handled fragile papers listing his ranch among Blackwood's claimed properties, forged signatures fooling officials. How many families? He asked. 47 documented. Probably double, I don't know. Blackwood had built an empire on lies, corruption, and intimidation. The railroad route was just a piece. Magnolia laughed bitterly when Zeke asked why she hadn't gone to the governor. With what proof? A fugitive slave accusing a respected businessman? They'd hang me for theft and give him a medal. But now you're married to a property owner, Zeke said slowly. A white man with legal standing. Now we both have something to lose. They worked through the night, cross-referencing forged ledgers and falsified surveys. Blackwood's reach staggering. They built a list of allies. Tom Brennan, Sarah Martinez. The Kowalskis, families who had lost everything and might fight back. But trusting others meant exposure, betrayal, danger. Blackwood won't just steal our land, Magnolia warned. He'll destroy everyone standing with us. Zeke looked over the evidence spread across his kitchen table, feeling the weight of what was at stake. We better make sure we win. Allies gathered. The community divided. Surveillance intensified. Merchants depended on Blackwood, some cold, some quietly supportive. Mrs. Henderson left coded warnings in Magnolia's orders, reminding her, "That man's poisoned this territory since before you were born. It's time someone had the spine to stand up." Pressure mounted. Magnolia's hands shook. Zeke checked locks for the first time. They worked in shifts, one watching while the other slept. The marriage of convenience was growing into genuine partnership. One night, by lamplight, Magnolia caught Zeke watching her. "You're not what I expected when I proposed." "What did you expect?" "Someone grateful to stay out of my way, keep house, not ask questions." Zeke admitted. "You could have run a dozen times by now with those documents." Magnolia set down her pen. "Running's easy. Staying to fight, that's harder." Outside, wind carried the scent of rain and coming violence. The next morning, Sheriff Rawlings and 2 deputies arrived, grim and efficient. "Magnolia McGRA, you're under arrest for murder." "She's not going anywhere," Zeke said, hand on his rifle. Before things escalated, Justice Hale arrived, breathless with news. Federal marshals were investigating Blackwood's land fraud. Morrison, the man Magnolia was accused of killing, was alive, recovering in Denver. The murder charge crumbled. Their marriage was legally sound. Federal protection extended to them both. Blackwood fled west before dawn, but his retreat meant he wasn't done. Months later, federal marshals arrived. Families testified, and Blackwood's empire unraveled. Then came the fire. The Martinez homestead burned to ashes. Blackwood was making an example. The community fortified themselves. Even Mrs. Henderson brought her late husband's rifle. Inside, Magnolia and Zeke prepared their case, dreaming beyond survival. "What happens after all this?" Zeke asked quietly. "We build something real," Magnolia said. "Schools for every child, regardless of color or circumstance." Using Blackwood's stolen wealth, they'd create justice, not just punishment. A shout warned of armed riders. Mounted men approached with military precision. Marshal Whitmore stood firm, confronting Blackwood. Blackwood's arrogance met federal law. The siege tested everything Zeke and Magnolia had built. But dawn revealed triumph. Blackwood's corrupt network crumbled. Months later, children laughed in the school Magnolia built with recovered funds. Their marriage, born of desperation, had transformed not just their lives, but their whole community. The prairie wind no longer whispered drought and despair, but rain and renewal. The story ends here, for now. Where are you watching from? Share your thoughts. Justice, love, sacrifice. What would you do if you were in their shoes? Like, subscribe, and click the video on your screen for more stories that matter. See you tomorrow.